I think that the timing on this is a little tough, coming off of our conversations 2 weeks ago regarding the increase to utility fees for sewer and stormwater. Those are incredibly drastic increases. And I think the timing of this is it's not great. We're talking about bringing on these other parks in the next couple of years, and I think that it begs the question of, some decisions that may have been made by some past councils to agree to take on those responsibilities from neighborhood parks, namely the parks in Villebois. The expansion of these parks is now, seems to be necessitating or bringing this ask to council to then have a mandatory fee on every citizen in the city just for living here in Wilsonville and having access to those parks. To me, this brings up, the concern that we should all have of where we go policy-wise in the future of taking on those extra responsibilities, taking on, back in the early 90s, the Charbonneau walking path, which we're also now going to be looking at in the coming months of how we deal with the maintenance on that property, that the city didn't necessarily, as far as I understand, have to take that on back, I think it was 1994. And all these things are coming back around. And now we're being asked to tax our citizens on the heels of the largest utility rate increase the city has ever seen. To me, this is a hard sell right now. So I guess it's not really a question, but some considerations about how we move forward and how we look at taking on those further responsibilities, especially when they're coming out of neighborhood parks. So,
just to clarify, the Villebois parks are regional parks, not neighborhood parks. That means they're accessed by everybody in the community that wants to use them. So you're talking about regional parks 1 through 8 in Villebois?
right.
The neighborhood parks are maintained by the HOAs, not the city. But the regional parks are maintained by the city.
So who was doing the maintenance 3 years ago on these parks?
Well, every park that was built, there was a 5-year maintenance period that was done by the HOA and the developers. After 5 years, the city took on the maintenance responsibilities.
What I'm saying is that seems like a bad deal for the rest of the citizens of Wilsonville.
I'm not arguing, I'm just saying that there are neighborhood parks in Villebois
Sure.
that are not maintained by the city. They're maintained by the HOA. The regional parks are maintained by the city.
Right. Now they are. Now we are taking those.
5 of the 8 are. Three of the additional, which is part of the 26 acres in the next 3 years, will be.
So
So
once
that's-
they reach their maturity date of 5 years being maintained by the HOA, the regional parks are then brought onto the city's maintenance umbrella.
Sure. And I had an understanding of that. The issue to me is going forward when we're looking at policy, when we're looking at taking urban renewal dollars and building something, because urban renewal built those parks. And urban renewal is slated, is advertised as no new taxes. Here's your new tax, because we're taking on these parks that were built with urban renewal. That could have been, in that deal, could have been built by the developers and maintained by the HOAs for their lifetime if the deal was made at the time that would have been the case. But the policies made at the time made it so that now we are taking these parks on. The other thing I was going to mention on this is, given those utility rate increases that we talked about 2 weeks ago, given the recent re-upping of the school bond, given the gas tax and all these different things that are going on that people are really starting to feel nickeled and dimed by, I think that it'd be prudent for this council, if we consider doing this, that we refer this to the ballot and let the citizens decide if they're willing to stomach another fee. What I was thinking about, I know that one of our council goals was to maintain service levels for our parks. Our parks, like we've all talked about, like we all understand, are one of the features of Wilsonville that really make people proud to be residents here and happy to be here. At the same time, that was our council goal. It was the five of us, or five folks in a room that made that goal. A goal, and when it comes down to the brass tacks of how much it's going to cost each of our citizens, each of our households in our city, might be two different things. That's why I suggest that if we're going to look at this, we look at something between scenario 1 and scenario 2. Probably would require figuring out what would be palatable to our community, and then we let our community vote on it and decide if they would like to pony up the money for it, and if they would like to engage in this, and if not, then we need to figure out, maybe then we do need to reduce services. The council goal was just a council goal. It wasn't necessarily a community goal. And I would like to see our citizens be able to weigh in on this as a new, novel, and unique utility fee. It's not something that is required, that we're making sure that, sewage isn't flowing back out of their toilets like we have to do with sewer and stormwater. This is a little bit different. And to me, it feels, as much as it is an important thing for our community, it's also not a mandatory thing for our community like the sewer and the other things are to keep the lights on and keep the water flowing. So that would be my suggestion. I think it would make a lot of people happy.